Hey guys, Level Cap here, and welcome to another episode of This Week in Gaming. The latest trailer for Battlefield 5 is getting a very mixed reaction. It dives into the game's company mechanics. In previous Battlefield games, you could unlock and equip various specializations that gave you minor boosts. That system has been expanded into a fully fleshed out progression path that potentially includes things like better long-range sniping effectiveness, stronger anti-vehicle stats, and stealth mechanics. Exact details have been pretty hard to come by, and that's no thanks to a Reddit AMA done by a producer from DAYZ. Various questions about the post-launch roadmap for DLC content, Battle Royale mode, Tides of War, and more basically went unanswered. That said, we did get some good information regarding leveling up and unlock systems. In the trailer, the specialization upgrade path for a double-barrel shotgun is shown. It starts with 2 items and then splits into separate tiers. According to the AMA, players will need to purchase multiple copies of each weapon to unlock every upgrade. The reason is that while you can choose which tier to unlock upgrades for, you're locked into that tier on that particular weapon once you choose to go down that path. There will also be an inventory system that lets you purchase weapons with in-game currency you earn through gameplay. However, we don't really know how much duplicates cost and how hard it will be to earn that currency. The bottom line is that we'll have to wait and see how the system plays out. It could be fun or it could be super tedious and annoying. Either way, I'm sure DICE will end up tweaking it over time based on player feedback. The embargo for gameplay footage from Gamescom for the new Battlefield 5 map Rotterdam will release on Monday, so expect some video content on Monday about that. I can actually talk about the gameplay experience now. I'll go just lightly into detail in that I thought it was a really good map. It reminded me a lot of Amiens, but with a little bit more verticality. So it was a good map design overall. There's some exciting new weapons to use. Definitely some balance issues and visual tweaking stuff going on that will need some work. But overall, I enjoyed the map. I do, however, think that DICE needs to lead with some bigger maps. We haven't really gotten some big maps to play yet with Battlefield 5, and the trailer demoed some of that desert tank combat stuff. I feel like they really need to showcase the scale of this game and what it's capable of, because as much as I did enjoy Rotterdam, it was more of a smaller, close quarters infantry fighting map. So hopefully we can see some big stuff in the near future. Now, a lot of stuff went on at Gamescom. I got hands-on time with the upcoming modern military shooter World War III. This game has been getting a lot of hype. It definitely has many visual similarities to Battlefield 4, and the market's been kind of starved for a good big-scale modern military shooter, and the Farm 51 are the only guys that are stepping up to the plate in this department. I was quite impressed with the gameplay, especially considering that this is an indie dev team. It didn't feel like an indie project, and if you want to get into more details about this game and what I thought about it, check out my first impressions video. CD Projekt Red showed their secret E3 demo of Cyberpunk 2077 again at Gamescom. Unfortunately, they still haven't released any of the footage publicly. We still get some pretty big updates on the game though. Firstly, new screenshots, likely taken from the demo. They look pretty fantastic. They're all supposedly rendered in-game as well. The Gamescom demo also showcased the male character option and a brief look at the game's urban nightlife. The E3 demo was limited to female characters and daytime scenes. As for the progress on the game, Engadget are claiming that the game is playable from start to finish right now. It's not done, but I guess the entire concept of the game is there. It's a little vague, but still cool to hear that they're that far with production. That said, rumors are pointing at a June 2019 release date based on a deadline for a grant the developers received. It's a questionable rumor for sure, but 2019 also seems like a pretty achievable goal. Some news about PUBG also broke at Gamescom this week. Since the game launched, players have requested a practice mode of some kind. The devs are finally delivering a new map dedicated to practicing all the game's various mechanics. It'll feature a shooting range with stationary and moving targets at a different distance. They'll have areas to practice parachuting, driving, throwing grenades, melee combat, and more will be scattered across the 2x2 kilometer map. It's scheduled to launch next month and was built to be expanded on over time. The map will be part of solo matchmaking and supports 5 to 20 players. As for the game's network performance, a recent developer post went super in-depth on what's been done so far to optimize PUBG. In a nutshell, they've made some major advances since Update 14 and are continuing to work on more improvements. It's likely future fixes won't deploy for at least a month though, so don't get your hopes up just yet. That said, Update 20 is now live and features a new weapon and vehicle for Sanhok, as well as a new third-person perspective camera system. Nvidia finally revealed their next-generation GPUs this week. The presentation was a deep dive into the company's 10-year endeavor to get ray tracing running in real time for games. Ray tracing is essentially a method of calculating lighting effects based on physical properties of light and surfaces. It's basically a realistic way of simulating a lighting system. The technology has been used in high-end graphics applications like CGI for movies, but typically requires a server farm to render even an individual frame for a movie. Nvidia's new GPUs, the RTX 2000 series, can essentially hardware accelerate some ray tracing effects, making it possible to achieve 30 to 60 FPS at 1080p in games. And while it's only partial ray tracing, it's still entirely on developers to implement, and the end result is fairly impressive. Their demos highlighted what modern gaming titles look like with and without ray tracing effects. Battlefield 5's implementation, for example, enables reflections to be drawn in water and windows accurately. The tech is obviously a few years away from really being properly implemented, but it's also very much the future of game development. Unfortunately, when it comes to real-world data regarding the new GPUs, Nvidia has been basically silent. They didn't cover gaming performance with ray tracing turned off in any of their demos, and the benchmarks they've released since the presentation don't include any information about resolution, frame rate, game settings, or hardware configuration. As for the actual hardware, pre-orders are available for Founders Edition of the RTX 2080 and the 2080 Ti. Priced at $800 and $1,200, they represent a huge jump in the pricing structure for Nvidia GPUs. The previous generations, the 1080 and the 1080 Ti, both retailed at launch for $200 less than their 20,000 series counterparts. For people on a more realistic budget, Nvidia also announced the 2070, which is priced at $500. It can't be pre-ordered yet though, and will be sold by Nvidia as a Founders Edition card for $600. The bottom line is wait for actual performance benchmarks once the cards start shipping on September 20th. Even if they do way outperform the previous gen hardware, third-party manufacturers will probably offer cheaper versions of the same cards. Rainbow Six Siege is getting a new operation called Grim Sky next month, but the content is currently playable on the game's technical test server. Since it was made available, Ubisoft have announced a few tweaks they'll be making before it releases. Maverick's blowtorch is getting nerfed to be slower and louder. Zofia will have one less concussion grenade, and Hibana's pellets will be a bit stronger against hatches. Sometime after Grim Sky launches, an improved recoil system will be added to the game that ensures the aim point of weapon sights will always be aligned properly with the center of your screen. Currently, full auto fire causes the aim point and center of your screen to desync, which leads to your aiming at one spot but hitting another spot. This issue doesn't really affect short bursts or the few first shots of full auto fire. That said, it's still pretty difficult to deal with, and the fix is a very welcome one. The PC gameplay trailer for Black Ops 4 has been released. It's short but announces native 4K support and uncapped frame rate. Beta performance on PC has been somewhat mixed due to lack of GPU driver support for the game, and some bugs will hopefully be patched before release. Anyone with a Blizzard account will be given access to the next PC beta on September 14th. That beta will feature the game's Battle Royale mode, Blackout. And it makes sense that they're really pushing for good support on PC, since that was the birthplace of Battle Royale, and it could be a huge marketplace for COD if the new Blackout mode is highly successful. In our final story this week, DAYZ finally has a console release date. The Xbox One game preview program version launches on the 29th. A PS4 release will follow at some point after, but it might be a while. The pricing will probably mirror the $35 PC version, but nothing official has been announced. Anyway, that wraps it up for today's episode of This Week in Gaming. Be sure to come back for tomorrow's Battlefield 5 content as the embargo is releasing. There's going to be tons of stuff there. So I'll see you guys over there. This is Level Cap, signing off.